Okay, so call to order for the Economic Development Commission for Wednesday, February the 22nd, 2023. First item on the agenda is review of the minutes from December 14th meeting. They were distributed as part of your package. Everybody have a chance to read through them?
Yep.
Any edits, changes? If not, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Tom?
Second.
Ron, second. All in favor? Acknowledge,
Aye.
raise your
Aye.
hand, whatever. Good, thank
Aye.
you. Minutes are approved. Thank you for that. All right, so our guest speaker tonight is the Honorable George McGregor, who's our Director of Planning and Community Development. George, you have slides, or how do you want to do this?
I do have some slides. I always have some slides.
Okay,
So if you let me share in a second, I'll do that. But yeah, so kind of a standard select development update, the kind of things that you maybe have recently opened or have been approved, stuff that's ongoing, permits we've seen, and maybe some pending or future projects to talk about. So not too many slides, and I'll kind of roll through them.
okay. So Tom's in charge of the technology
I
here
can see
tonight.
that. I can see that. So hang on. Let me share screen. Share. I don't know if I can turn this into a PowerPoint, whether that works or not. No, maybe not. I'll just go from the slides as they are. Yeah, so I always like to kind of just give you two little snippets of data that again, this is sometimes helpful. It's not always a master gauge of everything that's going on, but just kind of get a sense of planning department and kind of our commission activity. Try to do this year over year and keep it updated. But usually the noteworthy elements really are kind of zoning commission and inland wetlands applications. They always lead to some sort of building activity as well as zoning permits. So we kind of have come out a little bit, I think, from COVID, but that's 43 applications to the zoning commission in 1 year is significant. Pretty good task for staff to handle. But between that and inland wetlands, it just shows inland wetlands we saw really a lot of kind of homeowner related applications last year. Sheds and decks and additions and those kinds of things. So anyway, that just gives you a little snippet to kind of get a sense of what's going on. And then I like to also add the kind of building permit fees collected, just so you can get a sense of kind of where we are in terms of total activity and total numbers. And this is a fiscal year number, just not to be confused with the last one, which was a calendar year. But this kind of gives you a sense. This is a to-date number, FY 22-23, just about $600,000. So I suspect we'll be in line with FY 21-22 and FY 19-20.
Is the fiscal March year end?
No, so that's the July to June 30.
July. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, and so let's talk about some projects. This is the latest one that really has just come in. The permits have come across our desk in the last week, and it's really a significant one. So it's an Ensign Bickford project at 100 Gristmill. That vacant 40,000 square foot old office building that was, I guess, Curaleaf for a little while. So 41,000 square foot office renovation. It's the building, the permit value is going to be, in terms of permit construction, over $1 million. And I think this is to help Ensign Bickford get a little bit more room there, busting at the seams in their hot metal location. And this is primarily it'll be an office and team facility, I understand. One of the projects that really have really kind of closed out, but it was a big one over the last couple of years in town, the Ridge of Talcott Mountain. That is now, in the fall, completely built out and occupied, the 299 units that were approved. Of course, if you remember, there's a commercial shell building that the applicant is, or the master developer, the Silvermans, are looking to lease, and the other commercial building is another 8,000 square foot commercial building out front that is just begun framing, and we're kind of after them to keep that moving.
So there was talk, there was supposed to be a retail space out front.
Yeah, so there's two retail spaces out, so I call them commercial shell building 1 and 2, but yeah, the one's a 7,000 square foot building, the other's an 8,000 square foot building, kind of 2-story, maybe with 3,000 square foot footprint. But yeah, I think that the has been slow to lease, I understand.
Yeah, and they might, are they going to hold their feet to the fire to keep that as a commercial property as opposed to
So
allowing
those
them?
properties right now only have approval for commercial uses.
Okay. Thank you.
Just down the street from that, this is a project I probably showed you over the summertime, but Talcott Mountain Self-Storage, and I think I said at the chamber yesterday when, one of the impacts of building a number of multifamily units in the community over a period of years, the demand for self-storage rises. And so Mr. Richmond and his partner developed this. It's finished and open and leasing up those storage units. Again, right on Hot Meadow. UConn Health is building out 12,000 square feet at Andy Center Shops for what I understand is primary care and other medical uses. So it's medical office use in that retail complex. So you can see that if you drive by today, they're actively building out that tenant space. There's workers in there every day.
And they expect to open in the spring.
I think it's probably closer to summer at this point, but
Okay.
But yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah.
George, is that going to be a walk-in clinic?
So that's not my understanding. That it's not. I think it is primary care medical office. So I think there's some doctors who are currently in Avon or perhaps maybe even in town now that are moving to that facility. So it's not my understanding that it's a clinic or emergency.
Yeah, George, if I could just quickly, they're currently in the Cannon building right next to the chamber office. So the people that we've spoken to that are going to be moving over to the other Andy's Plaza have indicated that it's not going to be a walk-in. So I don't think that that's been passed around, but they're excited to get to their new place, their brand new spot over there. It's going to be beautiful.
Obviously, it's way more space. So yeah. Another residential project that did finish up, probably one everybody knows about, it was the Iron Horse Inn or the Iron Horse Hotel or whatever it was called. Now it's called Simsbury Center Apartments up at 969 Hot Meadow. So they're small, singles and doubles, 25 apartments in total.
And they are open for business?
I think they're open for business. Yeah, I think they were just finishing up with a couple of final site details. I think they may even have a temporary certificate of occupancy at this point. So they're leasing up. Ethel Walker Dorm. Yeah, so I guess it's a third or fourth dorm on site at Ethel Walker. It's a multi-million-dollar 35-unit dormitory, 25,000 square feet, kind of built into the hill. If you've been up there, familiar with that site, the dorms are kind of built and nudged into the hillside, and this would be right between what they call the new dorm and the Cluett dorm, which is it's that kind of older, almost brutalesque design with the concrete. So that's an exciting project they came through last year. And again, if you're out on the site, this is kind of where it is between the two of the existing dorms. We have a pending application that certainly there's been a lot of talk around town about. This is an 80-unit affordable project under the state 830G section of the state statute. It's required affordable, 30% has to be affordable. 4-story at 446 Hot Meadow. It's a small site, and it is pending at this point. It's got the inland wetlands public hearing next week, and then it'll have to proceed after that to the zoning commission. So we do expect a lot of input and insight into this project.
George, you used a word yesterday specifically around the zoning of this, given that our town does not meet the 10% threshold for affordable housing.
No.
There's very little we can do if The design review board was not real thrilled about this, given its pretty austere look to it. But at the end of the day, if we have not met our 10% threshold, there's very little we can do to stop this from happening, correct?
Yeah, I don't know that, Bob. I would phrase it that way. I might phrase it that the burden of rejecting a proposal under the statute is heightened and really placed on the planning commission to defend its position, as opposed to a normal application. If it doesn't meet zoning, or if it does, it's really up to the applicant to prove that the project is appropriate. So there is kind of finite reasons to deny or reject an application like this, and they are almost 100% related to kind of health, safety, and welfare in the surrounding area. So you couldn't deny it because you don't like the color of the panels, for instance.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's the reason. So under 830G, an application can bypass or essentially exempt from local zoning requirements. So you can put a multifamily project like this on an R40 residential single family lot, for instance. But you do have to provide the required affordable units. 15, it's essentially 30%, but 15% at 60% of area median income, and 15% at 80% of area median income. So it's a challenge to review, but I would say this particular applicant has been what we would call fairly friendly to the process at this point, and has certainly been open to suggestions and review comments and those kinds of things. But the rubber hits the road when it's in front of the elected and appointed boards.
Okay,
George, what's the economic incentive for a company like that to offer 30% affordable housing? Is the town involved in that at all, in subsidizing it? Or?
So there's no. Well, I guess an application like this could be subject to our tax abatement and fee waiver policy, although I don't think there's a pending application in front of them on this. But I think there are some state tax liabilities that are available and those kinds of things. But the fact is that I think it becomes more economically viable, Tom, when you couldn't build 80 units on 1.95 acres anywhere in the state under any existing zoning. So the density that's permitted, because it's an 830G, allows for those economies of scale to make better sense for the developer. And these are small units. These are 80. I think it's 77 singles and 3 doubles.
correct.
If I recall. And so the singles are probably 550 square feet or something like that. They're not particularly big.
So the land costs and the construction costs are much lower than you'd have on any other.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing this particular applicant has explained is that this is the product they do, Ron. So they have essentially have spent money on architects once, and they won't redesign it for a site, or this is kind of the box they build.
Right, and it's it's all state mandated. The state says you can have this density. 4 stories, small units, very low cost construction. It's actually a modular units. They're going to be built mostly off site and then assembled on site.
Yeah, that's right.
So your pro formas are work.
That's right. I think this is a project that I think is available for disclosure, since we've met with the developer and his design team a couple of times at this point. So this is a proposed redevelopment of the Wagner Ford property, right next to Big Y. I put the Big Y there just because it's a little confusing with the 2 site plans next to each other. But so this is a proposal for 2 fast food restaurants on the out parcel, closest to Hot Meadow, and then a kind of a smaller 12,000 square foot inline retail space in the rear of the property. And
this is much needed. I think this is
yeah. It's if you've been
kind of an
involved
eyesore up there now.
If you've been involved at all in the plan of conservation and development update, we fielded just numerous comments about the eyesore and the problems with that property. And so it is hot on everyone's mind.
Yeah, good.
George, did you say 2 fast food?
That's right.
What fast food are we talking about?
They have not been identified to us yet, but they haven't been identified to us.
I think they're just pad sites, could be anything, really.
Yeah, but they are. I mean, I don't think this is saying anything out of school. They certainly have users in mind and are negotiating leases with 2 users. But they are drive-through oriented businesses.
Oh, good.
Barber Cove is probably the biggest, most significant project in the center of town. Over the last half decade or so, we are. I spoke with Mr. Newton, with Chris Nelson recently, and this is a project that is going to move forward. There may have been some issues with supply chain and getting the right financing and those kinds of things, I understand, but this project hopefully will move forward in this year, in 2024. And I just have a couple of sidewalk projects updates for you, just so we're all kind of paying attention. And this is just a project, sidewalk on Firetown Road from West Street all the way to Plank Hill past Henry James Middle and the Country Club. Planned for construction in 2024. We've got a sidewalk on the west side of Hot Meadow Street from Hoskins Road. So this is north part of town, from Hoskins to the DOT park and ride lot, or the DOT maintenance station up there. And that's going to be this year. I think bidding has already been. I think we've settled on a contractor already. So I think you'll see activity certainly through the summertime on building that sidewalk network out in that part of town. And then finally, the Tarryville connection, what we call the Tarryville connection to the East Coast Greenway. It's really, you see it here in front of you in 3 segments. You may or you may not know, but the section from Tarryville to Bloomfield is under construction today, and it's a town project. That's the red section, and then the Department of Public Works and Engineering just came through inland wetlands and received approval for the trail connection from Hot Meadow to Curtis Park, and I think that is, again, that's going to be an out year build, 2024, 2025. And then there's the last piece here that connects Curtis Park all the way into Tarryville. That really is just in the design stages. And so that's certainly 5 to 8 years in the future. But it's nice to
right
see
along the river there. That's going to be beautiful when it's all done.
Yeah, it'll provide access and access to the river, certainly for walkers and riders. Again, it is a multi-purpose trail, so it's designed for bike and ped.
Can't wait to finally be able to walk downtown.
Yeah, that's a nice project, that's for sure. That's all I have for you. I'm happy to answer any questions or.
I got a couple of quick questions. I drove through Cambridge Crossing housing development, and it looks like there's not a whole lot. There's some houses being built, but it looks like there's a lot of empty lots. Do you know anything about any additional construction that's going to occur up there? And the reason for my asking is more, that was one that was kind of cited as where we hope to get some additional affordable housing units built. So
I think there's 79 total units approved and 14 affordable units that come with that. Let me choose my words carefully, since we are undergoing a number of enforcement measures in that subdivision right now. That has some things to do with why all the houses aren't building out at this point, although I think the applicant and the developer has kind of taken time with supply chain. So we're working on some of those issues. Okay. And we hope to get it built out as fast as possible. I think that's the best thing for the subdivision, is to build it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And any activity up at Dorset Crossing? That's been, looks like there's vacant buildings up there. I guess and then I'm gonna flip you all the way to the other end of town because there's, seems like a lot of places leaving out of,
Dorset Crossing, we had, they came in for a subdivision application several months ago. And I do think they have had some conversations related to transitioning that front section, which is, I forget how much, maybe 55 or 60,000 square feet of planned commercial, but perhaps transitioning that land bay to a mixed use or a multifamily product.
interesting.
And so that has not come in yet, but that has been part of the conversations.
And at the south end of town, where the Apple Cinema is, Bob's is leaving. It looks like there's a lot of vacant storefronts of, down there as well. Is there any activity going on at that end?
There's been some minor activity, except for, as I reported yesterday at the chamber there, we do have interest in a change of use down there with an indoor go-kart facility. So a commercial recreation facility, but otherwise there's not been a lot of leasing notes to let you know about.
Okay.
Because
I'm
Home
aware of
Goods is moving as well, aren't they?
Who?
Home Goods.
Home Goods. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that was reported, yes.
aren't they going out of business? Is that one of the?
I think they're moving to Avon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Down by
That was-
Marshall's.
yeah, that's what I heard.
That was one of the areas, one of the small areas a lot that was part of the cannabis zoning area that would be permitted, but now it's kind of things all on moratorium.
That's correct.
George, the Iron Horse Boulevard, was that the Simscroft property you're talking about? Is that a different one?
The Barber Cove, yes, correct.
Okay. Is that gonna have to go in front of zoning, you think, again, or is that?
That's got all its approvals in hand, unless there's any changes to the site plan or the site design. It's got its approvals in hand. It could go to building permit.
Okay, so they have they do have a time period on that, right? In order to act before this.
Yeah, I mean, it's 10 years. It's
Oh,
not,
10 years?
yeah,
Okay.
it's not self-limiting now.
All right.
Hasn't been quite 10 years yet, but it's
No, I mean, they really did, they just did they did a small amendment back in 21. So it's, yeah, that project will go.
Yeah, I still have a concern over the noise that you're going to get from the band shell there. I don't know if you followed any of the stuff that happened down at Oakdale Theaters in Wallingford. They had some issues with that.
Yeah. I think it would behoove us and the developer to make sure the disclosures are clear.
It's, I think, more governed by state noise ordinances or laws than what we have control over. So
Okay.
I know they said, oh, it's not going to be a problem for us, but we don't. It's another one of those things that the town doesn't have control over. So they could shut it down.
Okay. Any other questions for George?
George, may I ask a question? Was the inland wetlands public hearing rescheduled to a specific date yet?
March 7.
March 7. Okay, thank
March
you.
7:30 p.m. at the library.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry if you already said it. I know I came out.
No,
a
I
little
didn't. The zoning commission, just because of scheduling, they're trying to do this all at the same time. The zoning commission will review the application as well on March 6th, the Monday night at 7 p.m. At the library as well, but they won't be able to make a decision until after the Inland Wetlands Commission makes a decision. But they will start that review process.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for the presentation too. It was great.
Sure, anytime.
George, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and appreciate the update.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Invite me anytime. Happy to be here.
Okay,
But
thanks so much.
I'm going to go home now, though.
Okay,
Good night.
Take care.
Go have
Night,
dinner.
George.
all right. Very quickly, moving on to the stakeholder and liaison updates. Is Sarah on the? I didn't see her. So Morgan, we'll go to you for the chamber.
Great, thank you. It's a shame George already hopped off. We received confirmation today that he will be taking over for Melissa Appleby on the Granby Simsbury Chamber Board. So we're really excited. He'll be starting on our board in March, and then he'll begin his own term in June. So we're really excited to have someone from the town of Simsbury continue to serve on the board. And when we pick our new board in June, we're also going to be having a seat for the town of Granby. So very excited to have that level of partnership, collaboration, and just continue to grow the relationships between the chamber and the two towns. We had a fantastic government affairs committee meeting. Let's see what day. So that was yesterday. I'm already losing track of my week. And George came in, he presented that deck of slides, fantastic information. And then Abby Kenyon, who's the director of planning with Granby, also came and did her economic update for Granby. Very exciting to see all of the new residence options being built, the apartments, housing, all of that. So it's fantastic to see our communities continue to grow. We've got some really exciting things coming up for the chamber. We are going to print with our 2023 community guide. So as most of you are aware, this past year, we took the printed traditional directory, setup for the guide that we had, and we expanded it to include information on tourism for Simsbury. So now that we're merged with Granby, we are also including all of that information for Granby, and we're adding to it, to what we're providing for both towns. So it's really going to be a nice comprehensive view on Simsbury, Granby, what there is to do to really encourage people to, visit the area, move to the area, and once they're already here, how to best utilize the local business community and agriculture. We have the farms, hiking, biking maps, all of that. So we're really excited to go to print with that at the end of this week, so that we will have copies ready for Business Leaders Breakfast. And that is March 10th, 7:30 a.m. to 9:45 over at the Riverview. We've got two speakers. Our keynote speaker is Governor Lamont. Really excited to hear about the economic climate and entrepreneurship that he's been in support of. And then we also have Brian Miller, who has been very well known for his TED Talks, his leadership coaching and motivational speaking. So we're really excited for those two speakers. It's going to be a great event. We're expecting to sell out. And let's see, what else do we have? Our young professionals group is still having a really exciting start to the year. And their next event is February 27th over at Try It Tap Room in Avon. So if you know any young professionals in the area that are looking to get connected and to build their network, please let me know. We'd love to add them to our contact list. Again, that's a collaboration with the Avon Canton Chamber as well. And so we're really, utilizing the other partners that we have in town to continue to grow. And we have a lot coming up for the rest of the year, but I'll keep that under my hat until we get a little bit closer, and then I'll announce those things.
Very good. Can you talk a little bit about the tourism content that'll be in there?
Sure.
So I'd like to differentiate between that and what we had talked to the Board of Finance about.
The tourism map that we spoke to them about?
Yeah.
So the community guide just has a list of our members in the directory section, but in the tourism section, we have kind of a listing of places to stay. We've got local farms, historical sites, things of that nature. So it's strictly tourism, whereas the tourism map, which was kind of a caricature view of the town of Simsbury specifically, would have everything on it, and really highlights the local component in terms of the small businesses a lot better. Whereas this is strictly tourism. You still have your business. Yeah, you still have your business members in there in a directory setting, but those aren't going to be highlighted on any sort of, map of that kind.
Great. Okay. Thank you. We look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Should be good. Anything else?
I think that's good for now. We've got
Okay.
a lot coming up though.
All right. Ron, any updates on zoning?
You pretty much heard everything that George had to say. I guess maybe just to clarify, they did put a moratorium on cannabis sales in town. I believe it's just for 18 months at the moment, but it's kind of written as a total prohibition. So not sure what the intent is on that. Other than that, let's see. There was a couple small things they did mention. Antonio's and Abigail's did a few some small additions and stuff, but that's what he went by is pretty much all the major stuff that's going on in town.
For design review, the major presentation was from the one that George reviewed on the affordable housing apartment complex on Hot Meadow Street. What was a bit interesting was a few nights before they presented to the Clean Energy Task Force / Sustainability Commission. And one of the things that they highlighted is that they are trying to make this thing as much of a net zero building as they possibly can, putting solar panels on the rooftop, heat pumps for the provide both heating and cooling inside. There'll be a lot of sensors installed into the building so people can monitor their water usage as well as their heating and look at different strategies for heating their place. It's, as you saw in the building, there's a lot of glass, floor to ceiling glass for the each apartment, so that can be adjusted based upon the sunlight coming in, and you can monitor the heat that way. So there's a lot of positives to that from Clean Energy Task Force that was of interest to a lot of people there. So Tom, quick update on DEI.
Yes, I've been focused on the housing subcommittee of DEI, and I asked Cheryl Cook, who's a member of that, obviously, if she could send me a summary of some of their recent activities and some of their plans for the near future. And she did that, so I'll just read that to you off of my phone here. She said the housing subcommittee has been very busy. I think we all know they received a grant from HFPG to conduct a year-long public engagement on housing in Simsbury. They hope to complete that in June. They've conducted a dozen stakeholder meetings, 7 recorded interviews with people living in our current low-income housing. They had 2 public education sessions on housing, which can be viewed on Simsbury Community Media. First one called Housing Basics. Second one's called Pathways to Affordable Housing. I attended both of those, and those were very informative, very interesting, very useful. They've collected 600 survey responses to a housing survey. They're in the midst of taping a series of SCM on housing and anticipate 10 to 12 episodes. They're in the planning stages of a community forum on housing in May, which will be professionally facilitated. After they've completed all of these projects, they'll produce a report sometime in the summer, and they continue the housing subcommittee reports to the Board of Selectmen on a quarterly basis. That's my report.
Good. And on the development project, Barber's Cove's, the Barber's Cove project, we just talked about that with George, right?
As I've said the last 2 years, every time I drive by there, nothing's happening. So it sounds like something's going to happen now.
Yeah, stay tuned. And any updates on the Historical Society?
I do. I talked with Robert Moody, or I contacted him last week and asked him how they were doing. They had started a strategic planning process. They have a lot of several subcommittees. One of their subcommittees is on fundraising and development. I'm meeting with the person ahead of that subcommittee on March 6th, and with Bob on March 6th. They actually had a consultant come in and advise them on whether they were prepared, whether they were in a position to start a capital campaign, a major fundraising campaign. Consultant basically told them they weren't, suggested to them several steps, one being to hire an executive director. Second one being to review their mission and strategic goals. A couple of others, engage stakeholders. So they're just continuing with their various subcommittees on their strategic planning, and I'll get an update on that on March 6th.
Just really quickly before we move on, I would love to get in touch with Bob again. I've been in touch with him previously, as well as Ika and someone else over there. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting their name, but the chamber is very interested to continue to promote the Historical Society, since we're also the visitor center and we've been so focused on tourism lately. It's a really natural partnership. So I had met with them a while back and just had a couple ideas of ways that they could try to fundraise a little bit more, be a little bit more visible, things like that. We certainly have stepped up our game at the visitor center to promote them. So hopefully, we can help them as, in terms of area partner in getting to the place that they need to for that capital campaign.
Yeah, they're looking for help in a lot of areas. I have a lot of contacts on development and fundraising that I can help them with. And in that meeting on March 6th, you're welcome to join us. It's 10 o'clock at their site.
I definitely will. I'm really interested in
Actually,
helping them in any way
9th.
we can.
It's March 9th at 10 o'clock.
March 9th at 10. Great.
They did reach out to the Simsbury Greater Together Community Fund, looking for info about our next round of grant making. But we are not quite there yet. We just had an influx of members. So we're trying to stay in contact to let them know about upcoming grant opportunities as well.
Great.
All right.
Have they provided on how long I know they have a few buildings that are in disarray and, kind of how long they can go with them in their current condition?
Yeah, when I met with them, I met with Bob about probably 6 months ago now, and we toured the buildings, and I actually had some contacts in the construction business that they invited up there to look at some of the buildings. I think Ron got involved in that a little bit too, maybe.
Yeah, did a walkthrough with him as well.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to prioritize projects, what's the most needed project, and when it can get done, and how much it costs. So I think what they need is sort of a master plan of prioritizing the most significant projects and what it'll cost.
Yeah, the house up front has some structural issues they're going to have to address sooner than later. Unfortunately, it's not going to look any better when the work's done. It's just going to keep the building standing.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Next on the agenda is to review the work plan and get updates on each of those activities. The first one is the business outreach. I have submitted a list of companies to Tom Fitzgerald, and Tom is looking through that list and kind of making sure that we, scrubbing it a little bit to make sure that we don't outdo our welcome with a couple of companies that we've been kind of calling all the time. Let's make sure we kind of spread things out a little bit. And I'll continue to work with him to finalize that. And once we get it, we'll review it both with Maria and Wendy to get, the final list put together and then get things scheduled. So hopefully by sometime either late March or late April, we're got that finalized and got some things scheduled that we can start and we can continue on those calls. A number of people would like to participate in those. So as we get everything scheduled, we'll send it out to everybody. For those who would like to participate, we just need to know so that we can get, let the people who are calling on know who's coming. But clearly everybody on this call is welcome to participate. And so as we get that finalized, we'll let you know.
Just send the list out and the dates. So
yep.
I would like to participate if I'm around those times.
Okay, absolutely. Carrie, any update on the welcome letter?
No progress or updates as of right now. Just me being out of town kind of messed things up. So that's on the top of my priority list
Okay.
coming up next week.
Very
And
good.
my apologies for the slowness and delays on those.
No, no worries, no worries. Tom, we talked about the Historical Society, so I think we're in good shape there. Update of the town tourism map, we touched on that a little bit, Morgan. And obviously we're waiting on funds for that. And we did present to the Board of Finance late last year. So we'll see how that plays out. Brooke, Charmaine, any updates on the? Yep.
If I could just quickly add to that. So I am working on my proposed fiscal 23-24 operating and capital budgets. And I think that proposal has been vetted very thoroughly and, would add a lot of value. And it would also be a really nice collaboration between the chamber and the town and the EDC. So I have included that proposal as part of my CNR budget that will be released on Monday.
Great. And I know you'll work very hard to make sure it doesn't get cut.
Yes, correct.
Thank you for that. That's great news. Brooke and Charmaine, any updates on the working with Sarah on the marketing themes to promote?
No, but we should get back on that since it's after the first of the year. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, I kept trying to unclick myself from mute and I couldn't do it. So I'm glad I'm not muted anymore. And then also, as far as meeting with businesses, I'm happy to do that as long as I'm in town, just like other people. So.
Okay. All right. Next one is explore the feasibility of a hospitality task force and develop and assist with the implementation plan. That's kind of ongoing. Morgan, anything you want to add there?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that really quickly? I just had the kitten jump on the keyboard.
There you go.
A little distracting for me.
Well, now we have to see the kitten.
I ran away at this point.
Oh.
Sorry,
Okay.
Bob, what did you ask?
Yeah,
Sorry.
anything you want to add on the assist with exploring the feasibility of a hospitality task force?
No, I have not pursued that much since, meeting with Heather. We had some great ideas. I'd love to touch back with Maria and kind of brainstorm a little bit more and see how we can piece that together. I think it's a wonderful way for the chamber, the EDC, Main Street to all collaborate, around tourism and some of these small businesses that provide amazing services, in that industry. So I'll have a better update for you next month.
Okay, very good. And then finally, the ongoing challenge of updating our websites. I know Melissa did some initial work, some initial scrubbing of the kind of what I'll call our as-is website, and uncovered a lot of challenges along the way. But Ron, anything to add? Updates to that?
So, well, kind of in the background, because I'm not really a web guy. I was looking at what I could add to it. I did purchase some demographic data across the state by town that gives not only population, ages, and that kind of thing, but also has income and home ownership, population density. It's got a ton of data in it. I'm trying to figure out a good way to present that. So other than it's just thousands of numbers, you can sort it and so forth. Simsbury tends to come up in the upper quintile. We're not at the top really much of any of these places. We're certainly not at the bottom. But trying to figure out a way to create some charts or heat maps based upon location on the state that might be useful for people looking to come to Simsbury. So kind of working with that. I'm also going to get some NIAX data, which is the business, it would be businesses locations by type. I haven't gotten that data yet, so I'm going to have to figure out how I can marry it with this demographic data, but working on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be a challenging area for us all. Anything else to report on our work plans? Anybody else have any comments? Maria, do you want to give us a quick update on Melissa?
Yes. So she is now officially out on maternity leave. So I will share a little note with you all. But the family is doing very well and very, very healthy.
And we were talking about the baby's name is Arlo. Sure.
Correct.
A little baby boy.
Yes, that's correct.
That's great news.
Yeah, very good
Congratulations.
news.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Questions? Edits, changes? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, second?
Seconded.
Okay, very good. Motion is approved. Thank you, everybody. Our next meeting will be the, I believe, in the April timeframe, third week of April. So we'll see everybody then. And thank you for your time this evening. Have a good night.